Okay, alright, so today I wanted to just go over the how to make a RuneScape bot. I don't really play RuneScape, but I do like making bots. It's fun programming and actually seeing your program go into action. That's why I really like doing it. Sorry about the audio. I'm using a old computer, and as you can see, I'm actually remoted into another computer because this computer is not very good. Anyways, um, so I'm just gonna go over the script that I've already created. I might create one later, but and then I'll probably post a link to somewhere where you can just get my script and use it however you like. I don't really care. This would be a phishing script. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is the imports. So you need to at least import these two right here. Uh, and as far as setting up OSBot, there's already videos out there of how to do it, so I'm not going to go over how to set it up. I'm just going to go over the programming part. So you would need these two imports, and then you can look up the rest. So I'm just going to go over the programming. After you have that import, then you actually fill out the manifest, which is right here. And all this stuff is already online, so like I said, I'm not going to go over this. Now, as far as the programming part, your main class, the class that you want to use, um, it has to extend script. So I created a class named Fisher, and that class extends scripts. And then the method, the one method that you have to have is this one right here, the onLoop method. Now that method, what it will do is it will repeat everything that you want the script to do. So if you want your script to fish, then you need to put a method in there to fish. If you want it to drop, then you need to put it to drop. If you want a method to walk, then you put it to walk. My particular script just fishes and drops. Um, by You can also add an optional method called the Onstart Method, and this will execute before the onLoop method. It's basically, if you don't want to repeat something, you just want to do something at the beginning, then that would be what you want to do. For example, I'll show you my Onstart method. My Onstart method actually creates a GUI, a graphical user interface, which I can use to input information about what I want to bot. Um, and I'll show you guys the script in action just so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm over here at the Fishing Guild. You hit play on your script. This is my script, Fisherman. As you can see, the GUI comes right off the bat. And actually, I want to show you guys here so you can see the I've created some what do you call that, some logs, so it'll help you figure out what's going on. So this is this, then we go to NPCs 1510. Okay, so I'm gonna try to fish this tuna and swordfish. So my fish, I created all this, so it goes ahead and asks you what kind of fishing we're gonna do. We're actually gonna do harpoon, right? And then inventory items to keep. Well, we know that we want to keep the harpoon, and I've already created a list of these IDs, so you're gonna have to look at these IDs by going to settings, inventory, and then going over it. It'll show you what the ID is, but I've already have it here. So harpoon is 311, so we want to keep 311. Fishing spot, I've already saved as 1510. Fish caught, these are the fish caught. Now your script doesn't have to have as many things. There's a reason why I have a few of these things, since I'm not really gonna go over it, but it's for anti-ban kind of information. And then if your script uses bait, it'll show this up. So if I was to use bait, this will come available, but I've already made it so it doesn't, you can't modify if it doesn't use bait. So let's see how it works. Oh shoot, I have two. I forgot to click out of the other one. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, it's working anyways. There you go. So if we take a look at the script, he's fishing, and then he should drop. Hopefully this doesn't take a long time. Okay, we just have one more. So, and you can follow along here what's happening. If it's full, false. So these are all my methods going through. You can't carry anymore. There's a method here that closes that. Then my method here is, I have my own drop method. I don't like to use the one that they provide. As you can see, it's a little bit slower, and I can put it to fish faster and slower depending on how I want it to do. We'll just finish this up and then see how he fishes, and then we'll go back to the script. Yeah, and like I said, you can make it drop faster if you want. I have a certain speeds that okay, there you go, and then he fishes. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop him there. Okay, so this is what the Onstart method does. It calls my GUI, which is that screens that you guys saw. It creates that, and then it actually pauses the script while I'm filling out the GUI, right? And then I actually just set it to sleep too. I don't know if that's necessary, but I just do it just to be safe. I set everything to sleep in a basically infinite loop until I click to get out. This is what it's doing here. So while that GUI is visible, while that screen that you guys saw is there, it's gonna sleep. If it's not visible, then it's going to resume. So if I click submit, or if I click X, then it's going to resume. And anyways, this checks to see if I put anything in. If I didn't fill anything out, then it ends the script, which is, you just put the word stop, and that's how you stop the script. Okay, so that is the onStart method. It's only called at the beginning of your script, and it's not repeated. Everything that needs to be repeated needs to be on your on loop. Okay, so that's number one. Now, number two is your on loop method. Your on loop method will call all your other methods. So if we take a look at it, I keep an idle counter, because if my guy is idling too long for whatever reason, if the bot broke for whatever reason, I don't want him stuck there for an hour, so I don't get banned. And then this right here, the log, you can put this anywhere. It basically sends a message right here, so it'll help you with debugging. So all these drop fish is ready, all that as I basically told it to put, so that I can see what's going on. So this one tells me, okay, how many times have I idled, and then that way I can keep track of how long it's been idling. Alright, this right here is another class. So my Gui class, my graphical user interface, is one class, and then I have a class which contains a bunch of random values, just to make everything look more human-like, and I'll go over these classes pretty soon. Okay, but anyways, so the onLoop method is going to repeat all of this. The first key method that it's going to output is this right here, the open close dialog. And what this method does is, if you get a message here saying you've leveled up, or any kind of stupid message that basically prevents your guy from fishing, then it'll close it. So that's the first thing right here. And then I'll show you, actually as I go, I'll show you what this method looks like. So close dialog basically closes the dialogues that pop up, and right here. So first thing is, like I do in all my methods, is I send a log message saying, hey, I'm executing this method. And then I get the widgets, because it's a widget, and then get widget containing the text, click here to continue. Because especially I did it because when you level up, which happens a lot, you'll get a message saying click here to continue. What it'll do is it'll sleep for a random determined amount of time, because I don't want to seem too robotic, and this random time is in this class. And it'll get the keyword and type space, right? So very easy, because space is how you continue. So that's the close dialog method. So after it closes any dialogs that are open, the second thing it'll do is actually call my fishing method. So I'll go ahead and come on here to the fish method. Okay, this fish method, as always, we just put it to send a message to the log that, hey, I'm calling the fish method. And then what it does is I create an NPC called fishing spot, and it calls the closest fishing spot, as you can see, with particular IDs. So the ID that I inputted was 1510, and I actually have this as a static variable up here. And when I first do my GUI, it gets the value and it stores this into the spot IDs. Now, I created it as an array of 8, just in case you have multiple fishing IDs. But like I said, like you saw, I only used one. Okay, so what it'll do is it'll get the closest NPC with that ID, which is 1510 for what we just used, and then after it finds the closest, if I am ready to fish, which is another function, and the fishing pod does not equal to null, which means we actually found a fishing spot, and my inventory is not full, right, because we don't want to fish if our inventory is full, then okay, so this you don't have to do, this you can delete, hover, whatever, we don't have to hover over it. Then you can fishing.interact, and then you go ahead and interact with whatever the fishing type is. So this is just a string. It could be harpoon, it could be cage. So for example, it's just whatever this word is. This is harpoon, this is net, so any of those would work. Okay, and then I just basically keep here the idle counter is if I was successful fishing, then I'd set the idle to 0, because obviously I wasn't idling, I was fishing. And then I send a message here, oh, I've fished successfully. Okay, so that's my fishing method. Now this fishing method checks if you're ready to fish first. So I want to go over the if you're ready to fish. Let's see here. Okay, is ready to fish. And how do we know we're ready to fish? Well, if my inventory is full, right, then we're not ready to fish. What we're gonna do is drop fish, and then the drop fish method is right here, which basically says it logs drop fish, then I call get inventory to drop all. This is the regular method to drop everything, which is created by OSBot. So I do use it randomly. As you can see, I have a random number between 1 and 20, and or 1 and 30, and depending on which number is called, it'll call the particular fishing method. And the reason why I do all that is because I want to make sure my guy looks random. I want to make sure he does not dropping at the exact same speed every time. So sometimes I'll use the regular drop method, and then sometimes I'll use a different type of drop method where I actually right click and drop. Now that one, obviously you could argue that that's not useful, but whatever, I like to do it. And then I actually created my own drop method right here, which I will call. Okay, so this method basically calls all the different types of drops, the drop fish. And then my custom drop right here, what it does is it sleeps for a random amount of time, and then it gets the keyboard, it presses the shift key, and then it goes through the 28 slots, and depending on if the item ID equals the actual fishing IDs, then it'll actually right click, which when you shift and left click, when you shift and left click, it just drops everything. So as you can see here, it drops everything. I do a bunch of different checks to make sure that the item is not selected also, because if it's selected, then you want to, like right here, if the item is selected, then you don't want to right click. And I know it sounds like a lot of things, but I want to make sure my guy doesn't get stuck, so I go through a bunch of different checks. Anyways, after each after all the 28 clicks with the shift key on, then I release the shift key, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so hopefully that kind of helps, and I'll put the code out so you guys can see. I know it might be kind of hard to follow because it's not your code. Okay, so that's how the drop method does. So my ready to fish is ready to fish will check. If you need to drop, it'll drop it. And then the next thing it'll do is if my player is animating, or my player is moving, or my player is interacting. So this is some of the stuff is redundant, but it's redundant to be safe, and also because I don't 100% understand the API for OSBot, so I want to make sure the better safe than sorry. Obviously, you only get 1 to 2 strikes and you get banned. So if my player is doing anything, then basically he's not ready to fish. He's going to return false. Is how it works. If this is fine, if my player is not doing any of these, then it's going to come down, and then it's going to check if I have bait. If the particular method, so for example bait and lure, and use rod, which is for barbarian fishes, if any of these don't have the required bait, so I check the bait. So if you can see, get inventory dot contains and the bait ID. If any of these don't have the bait, then we're going to return false. At the end, if we've gone through everything, that means that we are ready to fish, and we're going to return true. Okay, so that's our is ready to fish method. And then the next thing is obviously ready to fish. Once we're ready to fish, then let's see, did we call our fishing method here? Then fish if it's ready to fish. Interact with fishing type. Anyways, that's our fish method. Now I do have particular anti-ban methods, which what I call anti-ban methods. Now it's debatable whether some of these are effective or not. I prefer to add them just to be safe. I mean, why not? And after I call my anti-ban method, I do sleep for a random amount of time, just because I want to seem random. You know, if you're botting for like an hour or so, especially fishing, you're probably not staring at the screen. So that's my fourth method. And then my other method is to stop excessive idling. So I've had bots that get stuck every once in a while for whatever reason, and this basically prevents it from doing that. Let me see if there's any other method. Okay, so how do I check if my inventory is full? Well, that's a very easy method right there. You do get inventory, and this will create an instance of your inventory, and it'll check if it is full. And if it's full, obviously you're gonna drop the fish. I've already showed you my custom drop. Fish drop random sleep. I believe this is just a let's see, random.next. Okay, yeah, this is just the random sleeping time that I use during my drops, just to make it more realistic. Sleep is just your character doesn't do anything for that time, so it'd be like so that your character doesn't click so fast. You know, like obviously your computer can do things very fast. So he's ready to fish, close dialog. I do have an end everything method. I don't recommend it. I did it before I learned that you could just use stop. So OSBot has a stop method which will stop your script, and if you put false as one of the parameters, it'll make it so that your character doesn't really log out, so it logs out on its own. But if you leave it as just that, then it'll attempt to log out. The anti-ban methods I'll show you guys here. Like I said, it is debated whether these are useful or not. It is debatable, I should say. So I call an anti-tabs, and what it does is, you know, when you're playing, you check different tabs here and there. I believe I just have it to check my stats tabs. Let me see. my skills tabs. And like you can see, these right here are called randomly. So I believe it's the max amount is 4,000. So every 1 out of 4,000 loops, it'll call this method randomly. This one, same thing. Even though the number is 100, this could be 10. It's all the same thing. So there's a 1 in 4,000 chances these get called. Some of these are more frequent, other of these are less frequent. So call random tabs. We'll call the antime tabs every 4,000th loop randomly. So this one's right here, and what it does, it creates an instance of your tabs, and then it sleeps for a certain amount of time. That way you're not clicking so fast. And then some of these you can use with conditional filters. I don't like conditional filters in OSBot. I prefer to create my own thing. Okay, so this says, hey, if you have a tab and it's open, then or get whatever is open, get the tabs that is open, and if it doesn't equal the skill, right? Because if you're at skills tabs, you don't want to click on it again. I mean, that's a bot. You know, that's definitely a sign that you're a bot if something's open and you're already clicking it. If it's not open, then open the skills tab, because when you're fishing, you want to check. You usually just want to check your skills, see how you're doing every once in a while, and then it sleeps for a random amount of time. Okay. The next method that I call is the random mouse movements. Right, when you're playing, every once in a while you might move the mouse to a certain location. So I have it here where it'll move the mouse to a random spot, a random coordinate X and Y in your screen. But like I said, these methods are very rare, because it's also not normal for you to be moving your mouse all over the place. And the way that it works is you get an instance of the mouse, and then you move it to a X and Y coordinate. And these numbers are all randomized, and I'll show you the numbers. Actually, I'll show it to you right now. This is my random class. And what it does is it creates 3 random seeds that I use, and then I save different variables depending on what I need. So, for example, I have a seed for waiting after fish click. So after I click to fish, I'll wait a certain amount of time, which calls a particular random seed between 0 and 2897. I use this particular numbers for reasons which I'm not going to go over, but I also have a minimum, right? So I have a 1578 as the minimum, and I would, if you're going to use my scripts, I would change these up so that we don't all look like bots with the exact same minimum time. Okay, so I have a minimum here. And then it adds a particular amount. The reason why you have a minimum in some of these is because you don't want to, if you don't have a minimum, then this might be 0, or this might be 2 or 3, which means that your guy's clicking every 0.3 seconds. It's not something that you want. So same thing with the closed dialog timer. I have a minimum of 985 milliseconds. You don't want to be clicking that space bar, non-stop. Now, like I said, OSBot does have particular conditional wait methods. I just don't like using them. You're welcome to use them if you like them. Anyway, so these I have for everything, all my random timers, and the way that I have it is every time I go through the loop, through these through this initial loop, I reset that seed. As you can see, I create a new object of the rand, and the reason is because you don't want to keep that same seed, because then you keep the same numbers. So you always want to reset that seed every loop. Anyways, these are all my timers. I have the camera movement timer. I have mouse movement timers with different X's and Y's and waits. I have drop method timers and probabilities, integers. Okay. Anyways, The next method, after we call the random mouse movement, I'll call the another mouse movement. Like I said, these are very rare. Some are more rare than others. This one will actually move the mouse outside of your screen. I'm guessing these probably get called once every 20 or 30 minutes. They don't get called very often. And then this one is actually a method native to OSBot, so I didn't make it. They have it where it just moves randomly outside the screen. Okay, the last one is the anti-bang Long Afk. So when you fish, sometimes you're not paying attention, and you go AFK like I just did, and I got logged out. Anyways, what this does, and I'll show you guys right here actually. It sleeps for a very long amount of time, and the exact number is right here. Not enough for you to get locked out, obviously, but for a very long amount of time, and as if you had gone AFK, you went to the bathroom or something and you didn't look. And these method is called rarely, obviously, because if you're playing, you're probably not going to be AFK all the time. And you could increase, if you feel like it would help you, you could increase the chances that this is called. What did I want to show you? Okay, I actually have I have it multiplied. I have a fishing speed. So I actually have these variables right here, these random variables. I have it modified depending on my fishing speed. So I have let me see if I can show you the GUI again. I have it set so that you can fish a certain amount, like you can fish faster or slower, because you don't want to look like you're always fishing the same kind of speeds. So let me show you on the GUI. Okay, see, so I have a medium speed which multiplies some of these timers. It doesn't do anything, it multiplies it times 1. This one, it makes your timers faster by dividing them, and this one makes your timers slower by multiplying them, just to make, to make fishing, modify it a little bit so you don't look like a bot. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I need to go over. And like I said, you guys can, I'll post this so you guys can look at it, obviously modify it so that if enough people use my script, then Jenkins will catch on to it and it will be worth nothing. To me, it doesn't matter because I can change it, but to you guys. So anyways, those are my methods. If you create a simpler script, it's not necessary. I like to be very careful. The next class that I wanted to show you guys is the actual GUI, the graphical user interface. Now this one, like I said, on your start method, it's what is called right here. I create an instance of it, and then it ends everything and sends whatever information you put into that screen is saved right here for your script to use. Okay, and I originally, when I made the script, I used JavaFX, and I didn't realize that that OSBot doesn't use JavaFX. It uses Swing, so Swing AWT. So I had to redo everything on Swing, which wasn't too bad. But okay, so here I have all my variables created for my class. Now I have it organized here. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I was like, what's going on? Okay, here I have all my variables. I have a Gui class that has to extend the JFrame, and I have it implement the action listener because when you hit the I believe it's the OK button, submit button, then it sends all that information. So I implemented that, and there's different ways to do this, but this is how I did it. I just listed it all out. I'm sure there's a more effective way to handle this list. These are all my variables. I have here's the important part, which is your actual constructor. Okay, so my constructor will create the graphical user interface, and then I name my window. Let me see if it shows it. Yeah, it shows it right there. Let me stop the script. Oh, it is stopped. Put it to harpoon. I don't know why, but okay. So right there, combat utility window, and then that's the first part. So the title, combat utility window. You set the title. You don't have to do some of this stuff. I just might as well set the bounds. So this the bounds will be the I believe that is the actual size of the window. Let me see. Or is that the size of the 700 700? Yeah, I think this is 700 by 700. Oops, I moved it. So that'll set the size of your window. Then the background color. Oh, this is for the background color of the title. Blue. Let me see if we have a blue. I can't remember what some of these are. It was a while since I created this GUI, so anyways, so you have to create your pane and then set the layout and then grab the title, the actual title, which is right there, as you can see. Let me shrink this up so you guys can see it. Okay, so there's the title, which I have as a label, and then as you can see, I have it statically put in here. I mean, I'm sure there's more effective ways. I'm not an expert on Swing or anything, so I just kind of whipped it up real quick. And then I have different fishing objects. So as you can see, here's the select type of fishing, and as you can see, that's right there, which is a label. And then I set the font right there, plain, size 20, and then I set the width as 250, which is how it goes here to there, and then the height 30, the location 50 by 100, so the X and the Y, and then you add it to the container, which basically adds it to this entire thing. And that's kind of what you do with the whole thing. Now, as you can see here, I have a combo box. This box right here, see how it drops? This is what you want to do. You want to create a new combo box. Let me see. Yeah, new combo box right there, and you have an array inside. So my fish options array are right here. As you can see, all these are the options that are in there. Let's see what else I can talk about that'll be useful. So that's the combo box. Inventory items. This is a text field. So if you want to type, then you have to create a new text field, which I've declared up here. All these I've declared up here first. Text field. And then you can set the font with all those and everything. I'll go down to these, the radio buttons. Let's see if I'll show you radio. Okay, so these are the radio buttons here. You want to create well, I have a label here just to name them. Fishing speed right here. But the actual buttons themselves are right here. You create a new radio button called slow, and then create a new radio button called medium, and then you can hit the height and width and all that good stuff, and then you add it to the container. Okay, so that's how you create those. You can also create a item state change. So if you do the for example, the reason why I have that is I don't want people to fill out any IDs if they're doing harpoon, because you're not using anything for harpoons. You don't need any bait. But if you do, so for example right here I'm trying to put a number, it doesn't do anything. If I use bait, then I can put anything. Obviously it's not perfect because I don't really care to error check because I'm the one using it, but you don't want to be doing that, right? Let me go ahead and delete it. You don't want to change it after you put the number in. Okay, so the way that you do it here is you can just copy, but it changes the state depending on the value of the combo box, and then it actually sets it so you can edit it, or if you can't edit it, right here as you can see, set the text field to editable. If not, set it to not editable. Okay, so that's how you do it. It's all right up to here, I believe, for that. and you can see it yourself. And then here's how you actually send the information to your main class, which is your Fisher class, because all these numbers that you put in here, they don't do anything in the GUI. They have to come back and be actually used here, which is where you have all your logic. So I have these static variables right here, and I have them capitalized because they're not supposed to change, even though they're not final, once you put them in here. So sorry, in here. Okay, so I will show you how to do this. So the first thing is you have to do the action perform, action E, and then the source of the action will be the submit button. So once you hit that submit button, which I don't see anymore, I think I must have, yeah, there it is. Once you hit that submit button, then all these actions will be performed. Okay, the first one is okay, I've been disconnected. The first one is the phishing type. So we were actually going to use that phishing type here because that'll determine what our script will actually do. Let me move my mic. What our script will actually do. So as you can see here, depending on the phishing type, if the word is harpoon or net, then our script will attempt to harpoon or net. Let me see if it shows it here. Phishing type underscore type. Yeah, right. No, not right there. Jesus, I can't. Yeah, so see, this checks if the phishing type is equal to bait. Okay, that's another one, but that's not the one that we're looking for. Yeah, this one. So phishing type dot interact, and this interact expects you to tell it how to interact. So harpoon or whatever. So this will take whatever that word is, which, as I said before, it's going to be one of these, and it'll try to interact that way. Okay, so there's where the phishing type goes, and then I have the inventory to keep. Like I said, all these variables are up here, and they're going to be used by your logic. Okay, so inventory to keep. Let me close this. I don't need this anymore. Inventory to keep, and then it'll get the. I use the get text to get the text from the text field. So here's your text field. You're gonna get whatever text is in here, or whatever text is in here. As you can see, so actually the combo box you do .get selected item. So whatever is selected, it'll turn it to string, and then it'll use it. This one, the actual number ones, what I do is I use the array class and basically convert the text, the actual text that's in here, because these aren't integers or anything, so they need to be converted to integers. These are just text, basically just strings, and it'll convert it to integers. So you want to do something like this. I mean, if you know how to do it a better way, go for it. This is just what I kind of find out, the easiest way that I found online. I didn't care to, learn a more effective way for this stuff, anyways. Then you have any kind of integer. I do the same thing. I split the array and then convert it into an array of integers. Same thing with the IDs. You're welcome to try any other way, but that's how I did it. The actual bait ID, I didn't have to do all of this because bait ID is only one number, so I didn't have to do an array. So I just used the integer.parse integer method to convert the text from this right here. So I converted that into an actual integer. And if you're done programming, you know what I'm talking about. If not, then you're gonna have to either just copy it or you can look it up on your own. And then this is checks to see if the radio button is selected, because obviously depending on whether it's selected, we're gonna change our if faster, if it's slow, we're going to change some of our randomized speeds up, some of our method speeds. And then the last thing is, I believe you have to check for a particular exception. I just put the regular exception check just because it'll catch anything, and it'll print it out to the screen so I can see what's wrong. And then at the end, once this action is performed, then it'll close the GUI, and then once the GUI closes, my start method is done and it moves to the regular methods. So hopefully that helps. I will post online so you guys can use whatever you need to do. I'll post also another method